I have been studying some of the most successful people of our planet, of our time, and there is this common skill that every single one of them have. And that skill is creating mental models and framework thinking. When you apply this in your relationship, in your business, it doesn't just make you look smarter, it actually makes you smarter. This is the exact skill. Once I figured out, I went from making $500 a month to making $200,000 for the first time in annual recurring revenue in my own business. When our whole generation is drowning in information and starving for wisdom, framework thinking is kind of like having a superpower in this average human world. Most of the people are overwhelmed with all the information that is around us. In fact, after social media and now with AI, it's only getting worse. So it's even more important right now when you have all the abundance of information that you understand how to build systems and framework inside your brain so you can get the skill that takes you from where you are to where you want to go. Because the ability to break down complex ideas into simple frameworks, not just for yourself, but also for other people through your product and services, is going to change your business and life forever. What is framework thinking? George A. Miller, an American psychologist and one of the fathers of modern psychology, he wrote a research paper in 1956, and he figured out that most of the human can only remember about 7 things in their brain for longer period of time. And not just that, it is also easier to implement something that you are learning in terms of 3, 5 and 7. Now let me give you an example of how I use this in my sales presentation. Before I learned framework thinking, I used to explain the problem and the solution, and then I used to try to sell my product. And it was not really working that much, and people were not really buying into it. In fact, I knew that if they go with me, they are gonna get the result. But somehow they were not convinced. And then I started implementing framework thinking in my sales presentation. So I went from just talking about, oh, this is what you are gonna get, and that's how you should do it. I started saying that there is a framework. If you will apply this, you are going to get the result that you want in your life. And then I would give them the exact framework without expecting anything in return. And surprisingly, that worked way better than before. Now, this was not just useful for me as a salesperson to explain my concept, but it was also easier for them to understand it. And when they became my clients and they started implementing it, they started getting the results. When you take random ideas and you turn them into a duplicable system, a kind of technology for people, then it becomes intellectual property for your business. And the first step of framework thinking is thinking in terms of singular primes. Miller discovered that the average human brain can only hold about 7 items at a time. And in fact, this is one of the reasons why most of the phone numbers are 7 to 9 in their count. Now, his study was not very far from what people later on figured out. Our brain can easily remember things when they are made in terms of singular primes like 3, 5 and 7. So one of the ways you can apply framework thinking using prime numbers is you break down a complex idea into 3 steps or 5 steps or 7 elements. The first thing to do is you need to build the habit of writing. If you do not have enough ideas, that means you need to start reading. But if you are overwhelmed with a lot of information, you need to write down everything that is in your mind, and then you need to look at it objectively and figure out the patterns inside it. In fact, every time I have a concept to explain for my sales presentation or for my team meetings, I write down everything and then I create a system that my team can take away and they can start executing on that framework. Because here's the thing, information is not a scarce resource anymore. Most of the people think that they will outsource writing to ChatGPT or other AI systems. But the ability to develop creative, novel ideas that you are going to implement in your business and you will be able to transform them into new products and services is the most important skill. And you should be careful when you are outsourcing this thing, because this is what makes you you. And second thing I will highly encourage you to do is to join a community. Join a community of people who are passionate about writing and developing new frameworks, because this is the easiest way to master any skill. To join a community where your desired behavior is a normal behavior. Now, I'm not saying that you join my community. Of course, if you want, I will share the link in the description, but be surrounded by other people who have the same alignment as you, because your environment is stronger than your willpower. And the last step to master framework thinking is to apply. Everything that you you are learning. In fact, even in this video, if you are still watching, then the most important thing to do is to apply this either by creating content or by writing a code. Create a YouTube video or record a podcast or create an online course, or you can use it for developing new software. Once I discovered framework thinking, the first thing that I did was to design a software for helping my customers without me directly getting involved in the process. And this is how I was able to keep myself out while I was serving my customers on autopilot. So framework thinking is not just going to give you financial freedom, but also time freedom. If you are able to develop the systems that are working for you, you can free your time to do things that you desire. Because here's the thing, people fail, systems work. If you are interested to develop new products with framework thinking, check out the description. I have shared the link of my community and some of the resources that you will find useful. And let me know in the comment box if you have any questions and what do you think about this. I will love to know. I'll talk to you in the next video.